Hi there, welcome back to this series going through the units from Mythic Battles Pantheon. This one's delayed for a very good reason actually. I've spent a lot of time researching all of the characters from the game and doing all the groundwork so as I can produce these videos pretty quickly. So going forward we should be able to push out these maybe 3 times a week, something like that. So thanks to everyone who's returning. There hasn't been a video for about a month, but with the work done in the background that should allow us to move forward with a decent pace. Today we talk about Prometheus. Now in the game, Prometheus is a monster. I don't know why that is. It's pretty inexplicable to me because Prometheus was not only a god, well he was a titan, but he was also, you know, the god of forethought. He was certainly not, he didn't display any monstrous capabilities or anything like that. And if anything, he was, for me, a god of great, forethought. He was a god of forethought and intelligence. He was very, very clever. Certainly not to be mistaken for a monster or anything like that. But that is how he is in the game. So what we'll do is we'll go through a little bit of his mythology, and then we'll have a look at the units and stats. Sorry, the stats and talents of Prometheus, and then we'll have a general sum up at the end. So Prometheus, he was a titan. He was the grandson of Gaia, and therefore the nephew of Kronos. Now, Zeus and Prometheus were two peas in the pods. They got on fantastically well. They were great, great friends. But there was a huge betrayal by Prometheus of Zeus later on. We'll get to that in a minute. Now, Prometheus, he assisted Zeus in the Titanomachy, the war against the Titans, which saw the downfall of Kronos, as did his brother Epimetheus and his mother. He was a great confidant of Zeus, and they got on very well. So one particular thing was that as Zeus, in one of his, typical of Zeus, he liked to bed as many goddesses and nymphs and people as much as he possibly could. And in one of these little situations, he managed to literally consume and eat another god called Metis. Now, Metis had transformed herself into a fly to escape Zeus's clutches. But I believe he transformed himself into a lizard or a frog to stop her from getting away, and he literally consumed her. Now, whilst she was inside Zeus's body, she started to work her way in there and started creating a life of her own. And Zeus woke up one day and he had the most horrific headache you have ever known. It was terrifying to the other gods. He was blasting lightning all over the place. He was screaming in agony and pain and anger. And Prometheus, he believed he knew what was going on. So he asked Hephaestus to prepare Zeus to get him to bow down on all fours. And he got Hephaestus to cleave Zeus's head in two. He literally split his head open. And outside of that came Athena, the goddess Athena, goddess of war. She came from Zeus's head. Now later on, when Zeus was getting bored, he'd won the Titanomachy, he was ruler of the cosmos, and he was getting pretty bored about things. He decided he wanted some playthings. He wanted things to do, little things to meddle in, various things. So he wanted to create a race of people. So what he did was he had Prometheus. He created these people out of clay. The first men were created by Prometheus from clay. And Athena breathed life into them. And so the first men came to be. Now Zeus and Prometheus, they had great fun with men. Prometheus loved the race of men. He would teach them things, how to plough fields, how to make buildings, how to do all sorts of different things. But Zeus was very, very adamant about one thing. Teach them what you want, interact with them as much as you like, do as you please, but do not give them the gift of fire. fire is for the gods, it is not for man, and they are not to have it. It was the only thing he asked of Prometheus. Do what you want, do not give them fire. Now Prometheus interacted with the humans, or the men. It was only men, there was no women yet. Interacted with them across a whole host of different things. He taught them, he was friends with them, and he loved them. He really did. He simply did not believe it was fair that gods alone had the power of fire. And so he went to the mountain where Hephaestus had his workshop, and he stole fire and he gave it to men. So that was a big betrayal of Zeus. And men had fire now. And Zeus found out about it. Zeus looked down from Mount Olympus and he could see the fire in the villages, and he could see what man was doing with it. So he decided he was going to punish Prometheus. So what he did was he decided that he was going to ruin things for man. And it sounds strange, but for him to ruin man, he gave them woman. So what he did was he had Hephaestus craft from clay the first woman, and then Athena breathed life into her, and then she was delivered to Prometheus's brother Epimetheus, and that woman was Pandora. Now, life was pretty good for men at the time, and with the advent of women arriving, Pandora was the first, and then they spread across the land. What also brought Pandora was Pandora's box. She opened Pandora's box, and it released all of the terrible things about that could happen to mankind. So before Pandora's box, there was no death, there was no disease, there was no hunger, there was no famine, there was no depression. All these different things came out of Pandora's box, and that was Zeus's first punishment for Prometheus, to really hamper the movement of man. His second one was he lashed Prometheus to a rock, and every day an eagle, or some mythology says a vulture, I prefer eagle because an eagle was the symbol of Zeus, would come to him on that rock every day, and he would eat Prometheus's liver. And every day that liver would grow back, and then the eagle would come back and consume it again. And he did this every day forever. Now, Prometheus being the god of forethought, and the reason I like him a lot, is that when he gave fire to man, and when he made all of the decisions, even the decision to make men and to teach them and that kind of thing, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that he would get punished by Zeus. He had the forethought to make those decisions and go with them anyway, because he knew it was the right thing to do. The gods couldn't keep fire to themselves. Man had to have it eventually. And he facilitated that, and he knew it would be to his own detriment. Now, funnily enough, his brother Epimetheus, he's the god of afterthought. So obviously when he clapped eyes on Pandora, he was like, wow, this is amazing, terrific. Didn't worry about it, married her immediately, and then started all those other problems as well. But that is Prometheus. Later on, he was released from that rock by Heracles, and he's in countless other mythological stories and that kind of thing. But he's definitely my favourite of the Greek pantheon. Okay, so that's a little bit of mythology about him. Let's have a look at his stats and his talents and that kind of thing. So here's my little act of defiance. I'm going to give him the blue stat clip for the Titans, because Prometheus is a Titan. Okay, but let's look at his starting stats. So he's got 8 attacks and a defense of 8. He actually starts with a range of 1, which is good, and a movement of 2, which is okay. Yeah, and 8 health. Now, talent-wise, he's got mighty throw and block, 5 recruitment points, but that does come with 1 art of war. So just kind of stat-wise and, you know, these basic talents, it's a good start. He is, you know, if you compare him to the gods, I'm going to compare him to a god, to be honest with you, because, you know, he was a god / Titan. And so he would always be expected to be at bare minimum the kind of top range of the monsters that are in the game. But yeah, he's sort of lower end of the god spectrum. That Mighty Throne block are both good, but that Art of War card obviously means a fair bit. Four activations in the deck, so not bad either. So from all that perspective, you know, 5 recruitment points is fairly dear, but it's not terrible. You know, he's certainly a good unit for a monster. For a monster, he's up there with the top of them, actually. Don't get a lot better than Prometheus here. But let's look at his actual kind of abilities over here. So regeneration. At the end of Prometheus's activation, he regains 1 vitality point. Okay, so that's good. So that means in your cycle of a deck, if he takes any damage, you can heal up to 4 throughout one deck cycle, which ain't bad at all. But what he's got is Primeval Fire. And again, you know, he's got obviously the fireball here, which will look terrific once I've painted it, obviously. There you go. That is the act of fire. Looks like if you get in his way, he's going to give you the gift of fire as well, right in your face. Okay, Primeval Fire. Use once per game. At the end of Prometheus's activation, every player takes all the Art of War cards from their own discard pile and adds them to their hand. So, in terms of deck management, dependent on where your opponent is with their deck, if they've just recycled their deck and you're not far off of recycling yours, you can hit the button then to get all of your Art of War cards from your discard pile straight into your hand. And as we know, anyone who plays the game on a regular basis, if you get the right units, you're going to be using quite a lot of Art of War cards to find cards and do certain things. So that is, although it's only once per game, it's a really good one. You know, if you have got a fairly decent hand and you can claim all of your Art of War cards from your discard pile, but line it up at the right time to make sure that your opponent maybe doesn't get that benefit. You know, maybe they get 1 or 2 Art of War cards and you might get a whole, you know, you might get 5 or 6 or 7. That can really allow you to put some deep planning into your next couple of turns. So it's a real cool ability for me. I think it's a very good one. Again, just once per game, but you know, all the same, very, very tough stuff. Now, in terms of the model itself, I have to say, I love the model, but they've just got Prometheus wrong. You know, this great big hulking beast of a guy, it's just not Prometheus. You know, it's certainly, if I was to look at Prometheus, this Zeus model is a lot more Prometheus-like than this one is. It is a terrific model, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it, but I just feel like for the game, they got my favourite god wrong, which is a shame. But I love it anyway, you know. It is a terrific model, really, really very cool. In fact, that beard is very Promethean. I do love that. And obviously he does wear the robes that a normal god would. Yeah, interesting stuff. But that's it really. That's it for Prometheus. So this video will go up on Friday, and there'll be another video on Sunday. And so these videos are now going to go up on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays going forward. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. So 3 times a week we'll get Mythic Battles Pantheon content. And obviously, when Mythic Battles Ragnarok comes along, I will be getting it. I don't know how. If it comes up quickly enough on the Monolith store, I'll be getting it from there. But I did miss the pledge manager. So when it's out, I hope to catch up with it pretty soon afterwards. Probably an eBay purchase, something like that. But thanks very much for watching. Much appreciated. This was a much longer one than they usually are. But I think it's worth it because Prometheus really is a really terrific part of the Greek pantheon. and I love that character so much. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.